You guys smell that? It smells like season 2 of Tap and Nap.
Season 2, baby.
I'm Maya,
This Shay.
and this is Tap and Nap. For all of you who don't know, this is where we connect with the movers and shakers of Indianapolis to see what they're doing in the city and for the city. And today we have Matt Schumaker. Hello.
Hello.
So, Matt, let's hop right into it. Let's tap right into it.
Let's go.
Who are you and what do you do?
Wow, that is a deep question.
Absolutely.
Who am I? Well, first I'm a Christian, so that's my faith is a really important aspect of who I am. I'm a husband, a father. What I do a couple of different things. I'm in real estate here in Indianapolis, which has been a really fun journey over the last couple of years. It's allowed me to connect with more people in the city than I ever thought I would. And then I also do sports broadcasting, which has kind of been my passion for a really long time. Double whammy.
Wow.
Both, that's two careers that people would love to have. I feel like there's a lot of people going after the real estate right now. But the sports broadcasting is one of those things where it's like, I never really thought about doing it, even as like an athlete. So it's not even anything like you don't hone in on the skills to actually be able to be on TV and things like that. So yeah, I'm mostly interested on how you got into that.
So, like, were you an athlete before?
Yeah, growing up as a kid in St. Louis, everybody played baseball because the Cardinals were huge. Mark McGuire, et cetera, et cetera. So I played baseball, played soccer, ran track, played football. I did all the things. And then in high school, it was like football and track. Then I came to Indianapolis to go to Butler, and I ran track there.
Okay.
So I definitely grew up like just a sports nut. And one of 3 boys, my dad was a big sports guy. So I kind of just grew up around it. And the more I got to be involved in sport, both as an athlete and watching it, I was like, I need to find a way to make this what I do all the time for the rest of my life.
And I think that's very important too, especially for the kids or even the adults that are going to watch this. There's not just one avenue when it comes to sports. And when did you figure out like, hey, there's not just this one avenue of playing the sports?
I'd say I probably realized that pretty early on. I was not like an all-state, state champion. So, I mean, as a kid, I was obsessed with SportsCenter. Stuart Scott and Scott Van Pelt were my idols growing up. And I would watch SportsCenter reruns at the time because they didn't have new SportsCenters every hour like they do now. So it was just a rerun from the 6 a.m. I would watch that 3 times in a row. Even as a kid, and looking back on it now, that was like the beginning of my training, I feel like, because I was paying attention to what those guys were saying, how they were saying it, their energy on camera, the way they described highlights. So I always knew that like that was something I was interested in. And then at some point in college, I realized I want to do this for a career. Like this isn't just a hobby or something that I'm interested in. Like I can actually make a career out of this.
Okay. What was a big struggle for you as you were taking any of your paths? Because you have a double whammy kind of life.
Gosh, I mean, recently I would say was COVID. I had just signed my first network contract, which was a major milestone in my career. It was with ESPN. Things were going really well. I was getting a lot to work with them. And then COVID happened the spring of the year that I signed the contract. So all the games got canceled, which was my source of income, of course. Contract expired in June and didn't get renewed.
Oh, man.
So, and my wife got pregnant, right? So there's all these sirens are going off in my head, like, got to figure it out. So that was a big struggle, and but it led to a blessing, which was getting into real estate. And, now for the last 2 years, I've had this really beautiful combination of sports broadcasting and real estate. And for the most part, they've blended really well together. So I would say like COVID was easily the toughest challenge career wise. And then of course there's been little speed bumps along the way, as with
It's anything.
anybody who's chasing anything, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, but that's what makes a true hustler. I got videos coming out that is one of my topics, and how does if you're a real hustler, how do you combat the times of negativity or the down times, and how do you supplement if something isn't going the way you think it should, and this is what you put your passion into? How do you now, you know, choose something that's almost up the same alley when it comes to speaking to people and making people feel some type of way about something, whereas in sports you're really trying to explain, like you said, listening to how they actually say things,
Hmm.
deliver it, and you're doing the same thing with people trying to sell houses. Instead of football plays and stats, it's measurements and, you know what I'm saying, all
Yeah,
the
yeah.
extras of a house. So that in itself, being able to pick up when honestly your mindset is probably down because of
Mm.
everything, and now it's all right, how do I hustle? People can barely hustle in what they've been doing
Hmm.
if something goes bad, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
so you having to actually pick up a whole new hustle is what is the definition of, is what makes a hustler. So
Well, it was out of necessity, really. I mean, my
isn't everything,
yeah, I
you
guess
know
you're
what I'm
right. Yeah,
saying?
you're
Yeah.
right. You're right. And obviously, like, there were so many moments where I'm just like, man, I don't want to do this, or because my
Which
my
one? The
real estate.
real
I
okay.
didn't want to. I didn't want to have to change what I was doing to
Absolutely.
provide for my family. Right. Like I worked my whole young life to get to a point where I could sustain comfortable lifestyle, pay my rent, pay for food, gas, take a trip, doing sports broadcasting. I've finally gotten to that point, and then COVID happened, and it would have been very easy. And there were times that I did think this, why is this happening? God, why now? Why me? And I really got to give a lot of props to my family, my wife especially. Her dad is in real estate. He's a real estate developer here in town. He's been here his whole life, and he was really encouraging me to go get my license. He's like, dude, you're just sitting around. Why don't you go get your real estate license? I'm like, okay, yeah, that sounds like a productive thing to do. And just all along the way, whether it be him, my wife, whoever, dude, what you're doing is great. Just keep it up. Just keep going. And we all need that. Like, you can't do this thing alone.
100%. Support is so genuine support is
Yep.
so important.
No doubt.
So important. Another thing that I want to tap in on is your faith.
Yeah.
So how does your faith play a big role in everything?
I mean, Christ is my rock. And that wasn't always the case. I grew up Catholic, went to a Catholic high school. My mom made sure we were in church every Sunday, but it didn't resonate with me or my younger brother. Went to college, church was not my thing. I think I might have gone once in 4 years of college. Didn't live a lifestyle that was in any way, shape, or form resembling, you know, uh,
Holiness.
right,
The
holiness or
Catholic
a life of
upbringing,
faith or
yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget it. I was between jobs. I had just gotten my first job out of college, working for a minor league baseball team in Johnson City, Tennessee, and it was the St. Louis Cardinals rookie affiliate. So for me, being from St. Louis, that was a dream first job, right? I get to call games for an affiliate of the team that I grew up loving. Had it all for that time in my life, and yet something felt like it was missing. I had a chance to get dinner with a friend that I hadn't seen in a long time, Aaron Peliquin. If you're watching, shout out to you. We got dinner and we just started chatting, and he started asking me some really pointed questions about my faith that nobody had ever asked me before. And it hit me in a different way, and it really got me thinking. And that was the pivotal moment in my faith life that changed everything. That conversation with Aaron.
Do you
And
remember the question? Or
he did, yeah.
the
So
strong
there was a
question?
couple of questions. One was, do you believe in God? And I was like, yeah, of course. He's like, well, what does it mean to you that Christ died on the cross? And I was like, I don't know. He's like, well, do you believe in Christ? I'm like, yeah. Well, what does that mean to you? I didn't know how to answer those questions because I had never really thought about it in that way. It was a very surface level relationship with God that I had. And those questions made me realize that,
Right.
And so now, that conversation was in 2015. So 7 years later, my faith is, like anybody, it takes a winding road. And, ultimately, it was my renewal in my faith that led me to my wife because we met in a small group downtown. And it's a beautiful thing the way God works.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
See, that's what, I try to tell people who are having issues dating that, if you go to the club to try to find somebody and be with them, you're going to get the club out of your relationship. You know what I'm saying?
There's
Like,
a lot of
go
truth to
do
that.
something that you personally enjoy or that means a lot to you. And if you find somebody else there, that obviously means a lot to them. You guys have more of a bonding and connecting ability, than just, oh yeah, well, we both like to dance and party. So it's like, all right,
Hey, sometimes
great.
that has to be the relationship plan.
Not that there's anything wrong with
Right.
going out and having a good time and
Oh, that's
dancing,
amazing.
but no, but I get what you're saying, and it's true. Like, you're probably my brother and I talk about this all the time. My younger brother, because he moved to a new city recently, and he's meeting new people, and he desires to be in a relationship. And I'm like, you already know what I'm gonna say.
Go to church.
You already know where you're gonna meet the girl. Go to church.
Oh yeah.
So, how do you feel like through real estate, through sportscasting, that you've reached the community, that you're doing something for your community?
Yeah, I think practically real estate is just an awesome way to serve because so many people don't realize everything that is included in buying or selling real estate,
This
right?
is
And
very
I
true.
also think too, so like that, just from a practical standpoint, how can I help you achieve what you want to achieve? And for so many people, buying land or buying a house or buying a rental property or fixer up or whatever it is, it's all part of this dream that they have for their life. And I get to play a small role in that by doing the very best that I can to help them along the way. Beyond that, something that I really think is cool, especially in terms of like the investment side, is for as long as real estate has been a thing, it has been the most powerful wealth building tool. And I have been very fortunate in my first 2 years in this business to come alongside friends of mine or friends of friends who didn't grow up with a lot of money but have just crushed their careers as young adults, and now they're trying to do something to create generational wealth for their families
Absolutely.
through real estate.
Yeah.
And that is just such a cool thing to see and be part of, and experience the excitement that they have on closing day when they get their first flip. And it's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get this flip and we're going to sell it. And then this is the money that I'm going to be able to use to help my mom buy a new house. Or I'm going to go buy this car for so-and-so. I'm going to pay for a trip. And real estate, whether or not that is the direct catalyst for those people doing those things, I get to see it through real estate. And real estate has become also a way just to connect with more people, which is never a bad thing.
It's never bad to network. That's what I
key.
love doing, tap
Yeah.
and nap, because we get to connect and network with different people. I've gotten to meet a lot of people who do a lot of great things in the city. So
Sure.
that's a really good thing to network.
So when it comes to the sports broadcasting, was that just right out of college you found an opportunity, or did somebody hit you up? How did that whole process
Yeah,
go?
that's a good question. No. There was not an immediate opportunity coming out of college. To be honest, I really didn't take advantage of my college situation. There were opportunities uh, presented to me. There were also opportunities that I could have been more proactive to go after and take advantage of, and I just didn't because I was a knucklehead in college. I mean, just
That's
call a spade a spade. I was just a
Right.
knucklehead, and I didn't realize it until the end when all my friends had jobs lined up, and I was moving back home with mom and dad. So I'm thankfully my parents let me do that. Moved back home to St. Louis, and I just started reaching out to everybody and anybody I could find contact info for. And I ended up doing sideline reporting for a high school sports network locally. I did a bunch of D3 football, basketball, baseball. And about 6 months into that, the Johnson City job opened up. And I think I reached out to like 250 to 300 possible employers, and they were the only one that responded.
And that's what it takes.
Yeah.
These are the keys we trying to drop on you. It takes that kind of devotion and act, being that active, to really get the ball rolling sometimes, because it's you and everybody else out here looking for the
I
exact
was
same
just
thing.
about to say that.
There were probably, I had a friend who's now killing it in real estate in Nashville. His name's Nico, and he's one of my best friends. We were both unemployed at the time, and we would go to a coffee shop a couple days a week for an hour, 2 hours, and we would just email people or call people, trying to like hunt down opportunity. I probably sent at no less than 600 emails, and my response rate was atrocious, obviously. Like the likelihood of me getting a response was so slim. And then beyond that, getting a yes was like 1 in 300, but it only takes one yes. And then you go do a good job with that one yes, and that turns into another yes. And you just keep going.
Yes, yes, yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
That is a very important thing that I need everybody to understand. Is like you have to be ambitious. If there's something that you want, you have to go out and get it. You have to go out and get it. No matter how many no's you hear. Because that one yes is gonna be in there somewhere.
No question. Yeah. And I mean, like I still, even at the point where I'm at in my career, um, it's kind of funny. Like I am at a point in my career now that I dreamed of being 5 years ago, but I also have so much more that I want to do in this sports broadcasting that it's like, it's good to have that ambition, but it's also like you got to appreciate where you're at. And for me, I'm still learning how to do that because I think so often, especially now, with how connected we are to other people and seeing what other people are doing and accomplishing, we accomplish what we set out to do, and then it's like, all right, what's next? So what? I did that, but now I got to do this. And then you do that, and then it's like, well, what's next? And I think there's a healthy balance of that ambition and like going after it and thinking about how do I just keep building and building and building, but also taking that time to be grateful for what you have.
Smelling
Because
the roses.
yeah, I mean, somebody told me is like if you don't if you're not grateful for what you have, you don't have room for more. There is no more room. You're tapped out. But if you're grateful for what you have currently, there's space then for you to continue receiving blessings that you will then be more grateful for.
I've never heard that, but that's real.
I can't take credit for it, but it's true,
That's
man. It's
real.
really true.
So, are there any projects coming up this year that you're like super excited about?
Oh yeah. I mean, I have a client that just purchased a Airbnb. It's his first one in Indy. It's in a really cool neighborhood, and I had the opportunity actually to help him purchase it and then connect him with one of my wife's friends who just quit her job to run Airbnbs for people full time. So it was a really cool experience for me getting to see, on the one hand, my wife's really good friend, Michelle, um, fulfill a dream that she's been having for a long time, quitting her corporate job and go following her passion of like designing Airbnbs and managing properties for people. And then on the other side of it, a friend of mine who is taking that leap into the investment space. And so that project has already closed. That deal closed. They're moved in, the Airbnb is up and running, but I just keep tabs on it. And so that's a really fun kind of ongoing project. And in the new year, we plan to go get some more. And then sports wise, I am just starting the the peak season for me with college basketball. Like this coming week, well, I don't know when you guys are gonna publish this, but
It won't be this week.
okay. The week that we are taping, I have 5 games in in uh in 3 different cities
Oh wow.
in a 6-day stretch.
Are you
So
gonna do the Midwest thing and drive?
I'll drive to some.
Okay.
Yeah. The morning flights are a game changer. And it's like it's going to be hectic and crazy, but I love it. This is it's something that I dreamed about from the time I was getting out of college to be able to do this and go from game to game and city to city. It's a dream come true. And so it's not like one project. It's a 4-month or 5-month season.
Yeah, step in your progress.
Totally.
Yeah. See, and that's the sacrifice of either having to be on the road, or if you had to drive, or if you had to deal with certain things flight wise, like that's a whole nother thing that I want people to really understand, is that there's no goal without a sacrifice.
Mm.
You're always going to have to bite the bullet with something. So if you're looking for the perfect landing place, I guess, in your goals, to where everything is just flawless and perfect for you, and it's not going to happen.
It's not.
You're going to keep looking for that, missing all these other opportunities that could eventually build, unless you're the very top person, and even then, unless the risk you take with getting your own free time is having somebody else have eyes on the business for you. Now that's the sacrifice. You got to trust somebody is actually out here running your business like you would. So there's sacrifices everywhere. You just got to choose what is going to work best for you, in the long run.
No question.
Yeah. So I like that you took that, because modeling's kind of the same way. All right, well, now I'm in the Midwest now. Generally, I don't fly, but even then, it's like, all right, I work for this day, but now I'm getting home at midnight, and having to deal with getting to the crib,
and then the next morning you're doing whatever you do on the side.
Yeah, so you got to still wake up and get right back to it. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So the or like I said, being in the Midwest, just driving everywhere. I just had to drive to Milwaukee, and then that day, the day I worked, drive to Chicago, and then chill there. But then what are you doing? You're just kind of wasting time in between there. Work the next day, and then drive home, get home at 11:30, and what do you got?
There's
schedule
sacrifice
the
with
next
everything.
day.
Yep.
Yeah. So, oh yeah, man, I love hearing you accept that.
Well, we were just talking off air about the Midwest grind, which is hop in your car and drive to the closest city to do whatever you got to do. And that's why I picked Indy after I graduated college. I had a social network here, which was really nice. Being a young single guy, like having friends that I could come back to in the off seasons of minor league baseball. I can't tell you the amount of nights I had driving at 2 a.m. on some random highway from one Midwest town to another, or back to Indy. And there were moments in my head where I'm like, what am I doing? I just drove 8 hours total to make $200 plus the game, plus the prep that went into the game. But it's all part of it, right? Because it's like that delayed gratification.
Yeah.
How long can you put it off and just keep working and realize like I am making progress. I am getting better. I am honing whatever skill it is. And it's not just modeling or broadcasting. It could be real estate, it could be cooking, it could be whatever your thing is.
Yeah. And I try to explain it to people. And nap is a big, I call it the tipping point, where your grind is weight. Okay.
Mm.
There's eventually all that weight that you put on there is gonna tip the scale in your favor, and
Mhm.
then it's just gonna all just start coming at once, and I feel like that is almost, you might need more weight in other cities, but generally it works all the same. Eventually you're gonna have hit the what is it, the brand, whatever, you know
The
the
grindstone.
grindstone, there
Yeah.
we go. Hit the grindstone long enough and hard enough that somebody's gonna go, I like that product. You
Mhm.
Yep.
know what I'm saying? And
Yep.
that's where people kind of fall into I'm going to go for the people that I know and my family to buy my products. And once that starts to slow down, my hustle slows down because sales stop. The best advice I ever got is the people that you don't know are going to be your best customers.
Absolutely.
Those are the people you need to aim for first, and then it'll fall in on itself, and everybody else, oh wow, okay, people are buying his stuff. I'm gonna support you, bro. I'm gonna support you.
Right. Yeah, that is an interesting thing. And it's so true. And I didn't realize it until I got into real estate. I thought I was going to get my license and all my friends would just automatically start buying real estate from me. But that's not how it was. My first customers were cold calls. And then your friends see, like, okay, he actually knows what he's doing. I'm not just supporting my friend just to support him. It's like he's actually going to do a good job and I can support my friend. That's a good point.
Yeah, I always see it like that, man. It's because I that's when generally I see people fall off because they get so excited in the beginning because people are buying their stuff and then or their products, whatever it is, using their services, whatever. But one, they either don't put enough hustle into it to continue to grow it as a business, and they just kind of keep the same logistics the entire time, and then your customer base goes, all right, well, I've seen this before, or I already have something like this, or it's not really, I wouldn't really buy it because you just threw it together because you expected people to just buy it.
Mm-hmm.
So being able to actually continue and grow what you have, is a whole nother
Innovation.
yeah, level of that.
Innovation is your lifeline for sure.
Um, and that's how I definitely feel about starting the podcast too. Like tons of people in my circle are like, we want to see, we're gonna do it. Then when you finally do it, it's like, oh wow, let's hop on that. And just for all my friends out there, I love you guys. Thank you for the support. And we're definitely gonna have to start our podcast for 18 and plus, but this is not it. But Matt, is there anything else that you want to some last words for everybody, some encouraging words?
Let's get a little piece of advice.
Yeah, some
Wow.
advice.
I would say, like, if you have a dream in your heart, follow it. Whatever whatever challenges come your way, there's a reason you have that dream inside of you. I believe as a believer that, like, God placed this passion for broadcasting in me.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's up to me to cultivate it and keep going after it. And, like, there's going to be so many opportunities to be, even for me, where I'm at in my career now, between where I'm at now and wherever it takes me, there's going to be opportunities for me to pack it in. Right. And that's with anybody, but don't pack it in because you got that in you for a reason. That's my advice.
Love it.
That was awesome.
Keep going.
Oh,
Keep going. Yes.
And I just got to say, thank you guys for having me on the pod. I've been following from afar. And I think it's really cool what you guys are doing. I think Indianapolis is a great city. I'm not from here, but this is now home for me. And there's so much energy and positivity and encouragement, especially among young people who are trying to do something in Indianapolis. So shout out to you guys.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Matt, let us know where to find you at.
So Instagram is at Matt Schumaker _. Twitter's the same thing. And then, I'm on LinkedIn too. And if you watch college basketball, tune in to Fox Sports and Big Ten Network, I will be there as well.
Hey.
Fire.
So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And remember, I'm Maya.
This Shane.
And this is Tap In Nap.
Yeah. Appreciate it, my
Season 2.
brother.
Man, it's good
Appreciate
to be with you
Thank
guys.
you.
Yeah.
I
Great to
appreciate
meet you,
it.
Maya.
Thank you.
Yeah, great.